Good morning. Welcome to day 3 here at Productronica. It's Thursday, and I'm delighted to be joined by Mike Skinner. Nice to catch up.
Thank you, Trevor. It's great to be here.
Okay. So we've already seen quite a lot at the show. It's been a very busy show. There's a lot of foot traffic. A little bit light on the automotive people, I believe. Not so many of the automotive manufacturers here this week, but otherwise everybody seems quite happy.
Yeah, it's definitely busy. I mean, thousands and thousands of people. There's 1,400 exhibitors.
Right.
It's over 4 days. It's massive, of course.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You end up with sore feet by the time you go home. But anyway, so let's take a look at what was out there on the show floor. What was new? Do you want to go first with it?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is that there's so much. It's just everybody's trying to push the boundaries of automation. Of course, that's the first thing. And if the biggest players, the biggest capital equipment guys, rather than just incremental improvements over a pick-and-place machine, are starting to branch out a little bit into AGVs. Like at ASM, if you saw there at their booth, they have automated vehicles taking the trolleys of reels out of their machines, storing them.
Right. Yeah, there's quite a lot of that going on actually on the different booths, and there was one. I think the most innovative one I've seen so far is from Fuji. They've got it's almost like a railway that's running alongside the line, and it's putting reels directly into the machine.
I saw it, and that one, in contrast to the ASM, which is taking entire trolleys, is moving single reel feeders out at a time, it's able to swap them around or store them. Right.
And Micronic are using a robot to lift the cassettes off of the storage system into the AGV, and then at the other end using the robot to lift the cassettes and literally place them into the pick-and-place machine. So it seems that all these pick-and-place vendors are coming out with some solution to try and automate that part of the process.
Yeah. It does seem, and we've seen over the last couple of years as well, just like the rise of automated storage in general. People are trying to automate that as much as possible and trace all these components on the shop floor and count them and just eliminate people doing that kind of manual work.
Right, yeah. It's funny, Clemens Jargon was telling me at Micronic yesterday that they're looking for the AGV not just to be moving parts from the storage system to the placement machine, but to use it for other things, to go and get glue syringes to take to the printer, or to even bring them a cup of coffee.
Yeah. You can move people around with them.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Another robotic one I saw was on the test side with an Italian company, Seika. They had a very unique configuration for using test cells. Normally you would get a machine that would have in-circuit test and various other functions built into that machine. They broke it out into single cells that were arranged in a circle around a robot. And the thinking behind this is simply that normally you would get 4 different test functions in one machine, but if one of these test functions broke down, you lose the
entire machine is disabled.
Right, exactly. So by having the test cells in a circle, you can, if one of them breaks down, the robot just ignores it and continues to feeding the other machines. Which was pretty cool. And they're all arranged in a docking system, so you can simply undock it and dock in and plug in a new one.
A replacement. Yeah. I think too, one other interesting thing about combining a bunch of automated things in one machine is that what we mentioned earlier was this new machine from Essemtech. It's based on, I believe it's based on their Puma platform at the moment.
Yep.
And it has a code name, which is not named after an animal right now, and I don't know if they're ready to talk about it yet. But it's a jet printer and pick-up-play system in the same machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the first, I think. For a really small shop that's doing prototyping or first article or something like that, you can literally print, dispense, and
place components. Down to, at this point, I believe they're down to 0201.
Right.
I think the size.
Yeah. It had 3 heads. It had a glue dispenser, it had a paste dispenser, solder paste dispenser, and it had a pick and place head.
Yeah. Another interesting combination machine I'm thinking about now is at Nordson Simtech. They have, it's one of their dispensing platforms for adhesives for large parts, like cast metal parts. That was one of the
gasketing for automotive. And
that sort of thing. Yeah. And it has 2 heads, and one of them is atmospheric plasma to clean the part first,
Oh.
and then dispense the adhesive,
Okay.
which I thought was very
That is-
neat.
Yeah. It's funny. Plasma cleaning is becoming a lot more popular generally because it does create a much more a rougher texture, if you like, on the surface. To let coatings and things like that adhere better.
I think people are getting less scared of it too.
Yeah,
Because if
that's
you
true.
say to a lot of people, if you say plasma, they
Yeah,
go,
that's right.
I don't know. I'm not donating
Yeah.
anything.
Well, it used to be pretty tricky stuff to deal with as well. So I take your point. On the software front, there was a couple of things. I'm trying to think. First of all, Aegis, of course, with their augmented reality system. They've really refined that, where literally all the training instructions can be put into their factory logic system and displayed on their heads-up glasses.
And this is something we've seen over the last couple of years is developing, and it's getting more refined to the point where it's actually usable.
Right.
And I remember the first demo I saw was at the Ream booth, I think maybe 2 years ago, maybe at Apex or maybe last Productronica.
It was here.
Yeah, and they had you put on a headset, and that showed me, a non-technical guy, how to replace a filter in one of their machines just by following prompts on the screen that were displayed in 3D.
Exactly. But, these were bigger heads-up displays, so that you could only wear them for about 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
These glasses that Aegis are using now are so light, you can wear them all day. So people that are working in awkward areas, like, for example, in an aircraft cockpit or something like that, they can wear them all day, and they've got a heads-up display telling them what to do.
Now, this is one thing I was thinking about because I haven't seen that demo. I'd like to. Are they still wired? Because I remember the first demos that I've had,
they're
were just
Wi-Fi.
big, thick, heavy wires like you would get from one of those, VR gaming consoles.
No,
right now.
they're Wi-Fi, and they're extremely light. In fact, they don't even have lenses in the glasses. You can
So
add
they're
lenses.
stylish.
They're very stylish. But you can add lenses if you've got a vision problem. But otherwise, you don't need them. So really, that was it. Symmetrics, another company that I had not seen before. Really, I think you've seen them. Keep going.
I had one demonstration about a year ago, I think, and I remember it's just a very slick interface for a whole range of machine monitoring and control on the factory floor.
Right, and they use APIs to interface, and they also are they're also using small computers that they put on the side of legacy equipment to be able to extract information from them as well.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little bit like I believe what Mentor had started as well a couple of years ago with their IoT box that they're using now.
Right.
Is it plugs into a range of machines to gather data, even out of I believe out of older legacy machines.
That's
as well.
right. Same sort of thing Cogiscan uses as well, and also what do you call it? The Raspberry Pi system from Seika as well. Yeah, definitely. So I think that's about it so far. There's still a lot more to see, but I believe you're going home this afternoon.
I'll leave tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, well, it's always nice to catch up.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us again, Mike, and no doubt next one's going to be Apex.
Yes, sir.
All right.
See you there.
Have a good Christmas.
For micro dispensing, there is one product line that is proven and trusted by manufacturers in semiconductor packaging, electronics assembly, medical device, and electromechanical assembly the world over. DL Technology, superior pumps and needles for the finer things in life.
My next guest this morning is Denis Barbini. He is responsible or general manager for Lassersel in the United States. This is a new rework system using lasers to remove and repair components. So, welcome, Denis. Give us an overview of how the Lassersel system works.
Well, good morning, Trevor. It's a pleasure to be here. Productronica, seeing you here again. A couple of things I want to mention first is that since last time we talked, we have won a number of awards, the Mexico Awards, and thank you very much for the Global Technology Award for laser soldering. A lot of things have happened since. So actually currently we have 3 different lines. We have semiconductor, SMT assembly, as well as rework. What's been going on recently is that we're showing our customers that we are able to really solder, or let's say remove and then reattach the component in that in question.
Right.
So we're able to heat that area up only, and within 500 microns away from that component, stays to be much below the melting point temperature, around around the preheat temperature, if you will. In terms of other attributes of the rework is that we have a positioning system so that we can pick in place and then also reattach. So we do all the steps except for redress.
Right.
in the
Okay.
rework.
I mean, the core to your technology is that you're using laser technology, which gives you real accuracy, but you've managed to combine the beams to keep the heat source down from, so it doesn't actually burn any of the substrates or components involved. That's enabled you to really focus and control this thermal source. Okay. You also have a system for been able to help with warpage and that type of thing. Explain a little bit how that works.
Sure. Before I get to that, let me just kind of describe to you how we do the laser energy management system. So we take a spot laser and we turn all the energy from that spot to an area that is going to be shown onto the component itself.
Yeah.
So it's called an area laser. The way we do that is by designing our BSOM, our beam shaping optical module, and that's something that we design, we build, manufacture, and that's our IP. That's what makes us different from everybody else.
Right.
In terms of our compression tool, that's another area which we see a lot of growth. When you have issues with warpage or poor coalescence, you'll see that applying a pressure to the component and then soldering it gets you the elimination of that warpage, or making sure that all the joints are evenly getting soldered. And the way we do that is we take servo motors to drive down a quartz plate, which is transparent to the laser, and we apply a certain amount of pressure that's basically optimized by a DOE.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go as low as 5 newtons up to about, say, 15 newtons, depending upon the application. And even if you have different elevations of different components on a given area where you're doing the soldering, we can also do some spacers. So as the soldering takes place and the coalescence and the drop-off of the component, we can also keep the pressure constant even through that soldering process.
Right.
So we have very tight control of the pressure and how it's being delivered over the course of the soldering process. And not only that, we do our soldering process in about a handful of seconds. So even though you have, let's say, your control is in microseconds, we're able to make sure that it's always under the same pressure.
Right.
Giving the end result is going to be a very reliable, working component without having any damage to it.
Right. Yeah, it's an excellent system. So who is looking at this at the moment? Because you've got a number of evaluations out in the field. Who's testing it?
Right now we have a lot of OEMs who are looking at this disruptive technology to help them do these challenging components, and then catching on from there are some other areas where medical, defense contractors all have very interesting applications. So they need to have an alternative to reflow soldering that they have today.
Right, and you're also going into some labs
Yeah, so even with the contract manufacturers and their centers of excellence, if you will, they also have very unique applications that they need to also find solutions for. So we're showing them as well the capability of our systems.
Right. You mentioned at the beginning of the segment that you were also going into semiconductor. What are you doing in the semiconductor side?
Well, semiconductor, that's where we started. We're a South Korean company, and so a lot of OSATs are based in South Korea. So in terms of chip modules, we've done a lot of those kind of wafer level CSPs, other BGAs, things of that nature at the chip level.
Right.
So we've done a lot of that. That's where most of our sales at this point have occurred.
Great. Well, it's great to see things happening for you, Denis, and many congratulations on the award, which is well deserved.
Yep, thank you.
And thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
So my next guests are from a company called Sartorius, which are a PCB assembly manufacturer and the first QML qualified company in Germany for IPC. I want to welcome Thomas Eckart on over here, and of course Jürgen, Lauke.
Hello, Trevor.
Hello, welcome, gentlemen. Yeah. So congratulations, first of all, on your qualification.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure the audit process must have been quite stringent. So tell us a little bit, first of all, about where you think your pain points were.
Yeah, right.
And then how you approached it.
Okay, it's a story. The story take about 2.5 years. And at the beginning, we have the pain like other electronic production. So we have to focus on more quality and for better our delivery reliability and so on. And so big pain. And what should you do?
Right.
And the normal way is to look deep in your processes and maybe write down a little bit on the processes. And my idea was, why thinking by myself about the processes? There's IPC. I can use IPC, and they have the standards, and they fit exactly to my production.
Right.
And we came very quick in contact with the European part of IPC. That was Mr. Lassersel.
Yes.
And I wrote him an email, by the way, in Swedish. He is a Swedish guy, and I'm familiar with Swedish too, so it was very fast to come in contact with him. And yes, we planned a meeting in Göttingen. So he came to Göttingen and informed me and my customers and my colleagues about IPC. What is IPC? What is the background? And what is about the classified 1, 2, or 3?
Yes.
So we heard about it a little bit, but never mind, not the details.
Okay.
Okay, and it was a good decision to put also our customers in this workshop. And okay, after the workshop, we all know a little bit more about IPC. My customers, we thought about it. Okay, that's a hard stuff, and but we want to put over it in our production. But I thought it's very hard to do it by nearby the daily work.
Yes.
So to have a big project in parallel to the basics every day.
Yeah.
And there was my colleague. He was just retired, and I called him. I said, Jürgen, what's about a little bit job in retirement?
Yeah.
In retirement.
So Jürgen, you basically headed the project and the qualification, or oversaw the audit.
Yes, we started a project all over the company, and we wanted to do IPC from the beginning of a process of a PCB in R&D up to the end in production.
Okay.
So, and the idea of the project was to implement it in the whole company. We have R&Ds in Royston, UK, and also in Helsinki, Finland. So we invited them all, and they were trained as designer for PCBs. And then we made operation procedures for our production in Germany. That was the beginning, and that was the main work I did. And after that, in the end, we decided to do an audit. And that was made now in
October,
September, October.
Okay. So how many operators do you have at your facility in Germany?
In the production of PCBAs, we have about 70.
Right.
About 70 people.
Okay, so they were all qualified.
In addition to that, we needed also the purchasing and the R&D people that were more than, but we had to implement them in the project.
Okay, so how many people overall were involved in having to be in the audit?
I think it's nearby 80 to 90 person.
Okay.
So, but the plan was to have the whole chain of production, beginning with R&D. So they are develop the boards, and if they do it wrong in the wrong way, we have the problems later on in the production. So it might be the right way to begin at the design workshops, and we set IPC training. So we are now have CIDs special trains so that we have the right PCBs in the future inside the production. And then we begin inside the project to train our staff.
Yes.
And we look at the IPCs, and we divided a little bit the themes, which person need what's, and then we placed the trainings.
Right.
And then shortly at the end, we were visited by Randy Sherry. He's the manager of the QML service.
Yes.
And he came to Göttingen, and we talked about a little bit over the project. And he asked me, well, why do you want to have an audit now? You're quite good. And I said, okay, I think we need a little bit more time, so I don't know exactly. But he pushed me a little bit, and that was quite good. And we placed the audit in end of August, and we were audited, and we managed it. But good. I think it was hard 2 days to go all through the processes.
The whole process. Yeah.
And at the end, the auditor, we have a short talk after the audit, and he gave us feedback a little bit. And at the end, he was very impressed about my stuff. So he goes to the shop floor and asks my staff, can you please explain me what are you doing here? And he said, it was fantastic. Your stuff is at the work by their heart, and they have very fun with their work. And so I think it's a good way to have good processes and good quality inside the electronic system and production.
Well, as I say, we're all very excited for you to be the first one here in Germany.
Yeah.
And I want to congratulate you.
Yeah,
and
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for telling us about it today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the end of today's programming. Thank you for joining us.